Okay. All right. We're live.
Perfect.
Okay, Dirk. Yeah, good to be with you again. And
Yeah, as
like,
always. Nice to see you, Ethan.
yes, we were
Hello,
just sorting out
everyone.
some technical stuff.
Yep,
Um,
but I think we are still on time and
yes.
excited to discuss this, one of the most important topics.
Yeah, the power of knowing yourself. And yeah, I think Dirk, you said you'd like me to
Yes,
start by talking about
yes.
why I
So
chose this topic.
I would be
Yeah,
actually delighted to hear more about your motivations and your rationale for suggesting this topic. Although, by the way, this topic is one of the most important topics personally for me too. So when you suggested, I was
yeah,
delighted. But of course, I'm eager to hear what motivated you to suggest this topic.
yeah. I think, well, I can't recall what I was thinking at the time when I suggested it.
Yep, perfect.
but but like you, it's this, it's the same theme that always comes up when, when I come up against challenges, when I have some kind of insight or breakthrough, when I feel that something has shifted for me in my world. It's it's never about what happened out there, but what happened inside,
Yeah.
right? Which is a curious thing, right? And same with my clients. You know, we may talk about the things that they want to achieve. Like have my business be successful, get promoted. Work on this relationship. But the powerful shift is always inside when they see something about themselves um, that they perhaps never saw, or that they saw but they didn't really want to see. They kind of hid it somewhere.
Yeah.
And the power of being able to see that and then shift that is what really changes everything for them. Yeah. So that's that at a high level. That's the reason that I want to talk about this.
Thank you. And for the ones who didn't really have the opportunity to read your post, I think you had very powerful stories. You had some client stories, but you also had a personal story. Would you be comfortable maybe sharing a little bit more about the personal reflection part, which was so powerful? What resonated with me the most was really the dilemma, like how what you are called to do in your life's dedication, which is how you are sharing your gifts with the world through connecting, through speaking, how it was actually challenging. To me, there's actually such a beautiful invitation for all of us. Whatever seems to be challenging us is actually the right invitation for us to lean towards more. And in the end, if we don't really give up and if we can use it as an opportunity for growth, it can be one of the gifts that we can share back with the world. So that was a very powerful message, and I would be delighted to hear it again for the ones who didn't really have the opportunity to read. If you would like to share it.
Yeah. Again, this tells you a bit about my memory, but I can't remember exactly what I wrote, but I remember the overall kind of
Yeah.
theme, which was that I was super insecure. And so in school, it's not like, people talk about being bullied and stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't bullied because I wasn't significant enough to be bullied. you
Yeah.
know I was kind of like the background. So and that was, you know kind of lonely and kind of painful when it was happening.
Yeah.
And so for the longest time, I just didn't like that part of myself, right? I didn't like that about myself, and I wanted to fix it. And but I didn't know how. It seemed to be so embedded in me.
Yeah.
So it was it was just kind of like, oh, I was born like this. So this is like what I was given. And I don't know how other people just talk naturally and
Yeah.
seem to be fine with other people. And for me, there was like this existential fear. Um, and even later on, when I got better at covering it up,
Yeah.
it was still like a performance, So it would really hold me back in so many ways because I would want to say something, but I wouldn't say it. I want to talk to someone, but I wouldn't. Or even if I started talking, then I would run out of things to say because I was trying to perform, right? And I didn't, so I couldn't keep thinking of stuff to say. It was trying to like write a script on the spot or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and now, of course, I coach people. And
Yes.
so it's kind of mind blowing that shift,
Yes.
and it's all about connection and conversation.
Yes.
And the the thing that I think you're pointing to is only by me being willing to discover what it is I was so scared of,
Yes.
what it is I was doing within myself to
Yes.
create that experience, how I was thinking about myself, how I was judging myself, making myself wrong, the feelings I was not allowing myself to feel. All these things were what was keeping that habit in place. But the gift in that is that by when I started being willing to look at that, it doesn't, I don't actually lose that. It becomes transformed.
Yes.
That part that is fearful or vulnerable or whatever becomes transformed into compassion. It gets transformed into understanding of myself and of others. So I'm super sensitive to how people feel, and when they feel awkward or whatever,
Yeah.
because I was like, it's
You know
I
how
can
it feels like, right?
yeah, I
Because
see
you've been on the
myself.
other side.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, so
beautiful.
yeah, I just want to pause there for now, but then thank you for asking that. Yeah.
No, thank you for demonstrating what it feels like to fully accept yourself and bring your gifts through transformation. And I think this is an important point to really highlight what we mean by knowing ourselves. It's a
Hmm.
big concept, and when we really put it out there, like know yourself, it
Yeah.
sounds like it's a static thing that's easy to define. Like there's so much complexity in this. Human beings
Yes.
are complex. And I personally believe that we all have our unique differences. What I mean by that is really there is a core that really defines Doruk and differentiates Doruk from Ethan. So definitely there are some core values, so some core operating principles that really makes me the person that I am. And you can see it
Mm,
in the way that I talk, you can see it in the way that I write, but this is also an evolving process too. So to me,
mm,
knowing ourselves is also a dedication to the process of life through a reflective
mm,
lifestyle, through some complementary modalities, seeing life as a mirror to understand yourself better, and through that understanding, hopefully making better aligned choices in life so you can be your best and you can be in the right places that's gonna give you the best opportunities for you to thrive in life. And
yeah.
if we really reframe this knowing self as a process unfolding over time, and another analogy that I like to use is really like an onion. You just peel one layer. Each year you discover something else. Like you just peel one more layer too. And the more mature you are, the subtle those dimensions become. So maybe the theme is the same, but then you have a deeper understanding of what that means. So given that this is a process, what I would like to maybe highlight is really how it's really important to couple this knowing self dimension with loving self. Because if we cannot really keep our hearts open enough to see all of ourselves without judgment, without really criticism, we are not really able to fully know ourselves and see the parts that we are not so happy about and ultimately transform them. So when
Mm.
we actually talk about knowing self, I think in the Western world, we are always so focused around external reflections and all the shiny and good parts, all the parts that are accepted by the society. And if you are different, in this case, you shared a beautiful example, and I can maybe replicate similar kind of trends from my own experiences. I've been always an outlier according to some societal standards, and although I'm very communicative, I've been always introverted in terms of my nature too. So in my own journey, I also had to go through my own acceptance process, understand that, yes, I'm different. And it might not be aligned with the societal expectations or what we see as dominant patterns in the world today, but that's okay. That's okay. And I think we as individuals have the first responsibility to hold that space with love and love ourselves first, including every awkward thing that we might have. And from that love, from that understanding, I think then we can make the necessary transformation if we feel like we have to evolve towards a different, better version with a different reflection of the same sensitivity. For example, in this case, you shared how your sensitivity was actually making you different, but also blocking you. And then you just turn that into another gift for connecting with people instead of separating yourself out because you were a lot more sensitive. So, but everything starts with, I think, us holding the space for love first.
Mm.
So we can see all those different parts that didn't really have enough validation from the society. And we can bring that love back to us, accept ourselves as whole human beings. And from that, we can have magical gifts that we can share back with the world. And I think the way that your story revealed this was really very powerful. You started from the opposite spectrum, which was really maybe not aligned with the societal expectations. In my case, it's the same story in different shape or form. And then here we are, expressing ourselves and trying to bring more of ourselves to the world in every conversation. And I think it goes hand in hand. Loving self, knowing self, loving self, and knowing self. Maybe
Yeah.
with that, actually, do you have any reflections from your side?
Yeah, I think that's mm, it's really uh, beautiful because if you think about an experience that you have, like if you go to the beach and if you start judging the beach, like, oh, the sand here isn't as soft as the one I was on
Yeah.
last year, and oh, and this is that kind of tree that is, so once we start kind of judging as things are bad or good, or like we are not really being with the thing as it is,
Yes.
and in that is to be with something as it is love, like when we feel that with someone else, right, we feel loved, right, that they can be with us as we are, and they don't need us to be any other way, and they're not uh, judging us as this or that. So the same applies to us, so when you talk about knowing yourself, uh, have we ever done that with ourselves,
Yes.
or if we have done that, okay, how often are we kind of practicing that? How often are we creating a space to be with the parts of ourselves that we don't really want to be with? And when it comes to somebody who may be watching this, who's a high achiever or a leader, that's my son, in
Hi.
some way. Hello. Yes. I'll see
Bye.
you in a bit. Yes, he just came home from school.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, he's so excited about his new water bottle. Like that is total love there now. He's got Yeah. The somebody who's watching this who thinks, well, okay, yeah, I probably have some kind of healing to do and all that, but right now I don't have time for that. I have
Yeah.
stuff I need to get done.
Yes.
I would put it to you like what if the thing that you're avoiding is actually the biggest thing that is blocking you from what you want? I mean, I found that to be true for
Yes.
me. My clients find that to be true for them. I'd be curious to hear your experience, Doruk.
Yeah.
It's like the thing that we're avoiding because we're too busy doing other stuff is actually the thing that if we embraced it directly would actually like that problem would disappear. Like it wouldn't be the problem anymore. It would almost make it irrelevant because there's something that problem is just a symptom of us avoiding something. For example, people overworking, people, you know, um, constantly stressed. There's something that they're avoiding, trying to pursue a goal that they think will let them be at peace.
So many directions that we can go from this point of view, but definitely I think coming back to what we always say, external is a reflection of the internal. And if we don't really consciously create that space for us to understand who we are, what our emotions are, what our thoughts are, what our interests are, what our strengths are, what are some of the areas that we need further improvement for, there is no way that we can escape from them till we lovingly see them, accept them, and decide to transform them through different healing modalities. It's always going to show up. It's always going to show up in the form of relationships. It's always going to show up in the form of how you do your business. So your colleagues will be able to see you, your partner will be able to see you. The only person who is not able to see that particular thing is going to be you. So
Yeah.
in that sense, I always see life as a mirror. And there is no way that you can escape from that mirror unless you literally lock yourself up in the mountain in a cave, which is sometimes what mystics do. So they deal with their own stuff that they see in the mirror, transform them, and come back to society. You don't need to go and lock yourself into a cave to be able to lead that transformation. I think if we openly, consciously allocate some time for some reflective practices and use life as a mirror to see what kind of trends that I am seeing in terms of what life is mirroring back to me. Am I always having this connection issue with a colleague, with
Mhm.
a partner? Like, what does this say in terms of my boundaries? Maybe I need to rethink about what is triggering this. Maybe I need to have a lot more clear communication in terms of my expectations. Like, we're always facing the same problem. And to me, a nice way to see these patterns is really having a reflective practice. With that, actually, I would like to maybe change direction towards how we can build these muscles for knowing, loving, and knowing ourselves. And
Mm.
personally, for me, there are a couple different things that I've always adopted in my life. The first principle is really cautious opening up space. And I don't know where this is coming from. It's actually, I think, a part of my core as a reflective personality. I've been journaling for decades when I was even a student. To me, it was a way of understanding world, understanding the experiences, and internalizing those experiences. Like I go through life,
Mm.
travel, learn new things in school, meet new people. Then I take some time to really go through that process, what it made me feel like, because I'm trying to understand my emotions. I'm trying to understand my thoughts. Like, what
Mm.
kind of environment is triggering me to think about more innovative stuff? What kind of people make the light in me shine brighter? What kind of context I feel restricted? What makes me mad? What makes me angry? So the
Yeah.
first step is really having some sort of reflective practices. And again, you can go to a retreat to do this dedicated course for a week or so, but coming back to our busy world and not us not having any time, You just need half an hour, 15 minutes every day. Just block it in your calendar before you start the day or at the end of the day. Can you just allocate 30 minutes and just think about what brought love to my day today? Like, what made me excited? What did I
Mm.
learn today? What can I do differently or better if I feel like I didn't bring my best? Just three simple questions. What did you love? What did you
Yeah.
learn? And what can you integrate into your life better in terms of trying a different version the next day? Very simple. So to
Mm.
me, self-reflection is the first part. The second
Mm.
part is really using your life as your school, just talking with the people who are close to you. Literally, you don't need your company to sponsor your 360 feedback to really get feedback from the people. Proactively ask for it. I always played this game actually, even when I was a child. After spending some quality time with people, it could be a couple hours, it could be a couple days. Out of nowhere, I was asking someone to literally define me in three different subjectives immediately. What are the top three subjectives that come to your mind when you see me? Top three. Give me top
Amazing.
three.
Yes, so that's beauty, nature, flow.
Perfect. This is amazing. So I've done this, for example, 100 times. And the magic of this is really, it works magically in two ways. First of all, it gives me an understanding about how I am perceived by the other side. So it's an amazing feedback loop personally for me. But it's also a wonderful way for me to really understand who you really are,
Mm.
because you can only see what you value. If you don't have it in you, you won't be able to see it. It's clearly that you were able to see that flow dimension in me because
Mm.
you are in that flow. You have that meditative presence in you too. But for someone who is more on the analytical side, and if they see me in a business world trying to get some sort of funding, which is more of this energetic passion dimension, they tell me that, well, I am very ambitious, which is a total different side of me, but that's also revealing too much about themselves. So the second part personally for me is really, this is just one small example that I was playing as a child and I still sometimes continue to play. Thank you for playing
Mm.
it with me too. I know this was very spontaneous in the moment, but
Yes.
how can you really work with your close ones to really let them reveal what they see in you? And the magic of this exercise is really as human beings, and this is a framework coming from psychology too, we all have some blind spots. What I mean by that is really some dimensions of you are very visible to others, but
Yeah.
it's not very visible to you. And
Yeah.
then you can really bring that part of yourself with more confidence. And if there are some parts that you think are in you, but it's not very visible to the world, in this case, I have a very deep sense of contemplative mind, but it took me quite some time also to open up, to share it with the world. And when I started sharing with the world, I received quite a lot of feedback from my friends too, like, oh my God, like you're thinking about so many deep topics. And I was not even sharing that. So of course, this was not coming too much because I was not revealing that part of me too much too. So
Yeah.
another part of knowing self is really working with your colleagues, working with your family, working with your friends for them to reveal what they see in you. This is especially, I think, important for career transitions and stuff like that too. From time to time, literally in my social networks too, I post this question like, what are the top qualities that you see in me? Just like top three and five. And I literally use it. Oh, I have a guest on the window. Instead of
Nice.
climbing a tree, he's climbing the window.
It's a cat.
Interesting. No, I think squirrel.
That's cool.
So cool.
I did say
Um,
nature, right?
Yes, that was a beautiful imitation. Oh my god, I wish I'm able to show. Maybe I can. Can I? No. I don't want to disturb the setting. But someone is like, sorry, this is momentary, but I will just
Yeah, yeah.
literally,
Please do.
okay, lost that. Another thing is when we are really trying to determine a significant change in our lives. And if that change is really bothering us or blocking our capacity because we are in the midst of change, there is so much happening. Another great tool is to literally get support from your network, from your loved ones, for them to really reveal what your strengths are. And this
Mm,
is another powerful practice that I've seen many of my friends integrating when they are thinking about career changes as well. So you don't need, like I said, a company to sponsor you for 306 feedback. You can integrate these kind of practices back to your life. And maybe because of my passion for really understanding myself so that I can position myself in the best place in the world, I've been always exploring assessment modalities like personality tests too. I
mm,
know there are some judgments about them. Human beings are complex. Like we said, it's not easy to put ourselves into certain boxes. But again, it's
mm,
better than nothing. There are some common traits and there are some common trends that you can identify through the personality test that you can maybe think through. Oh, in the openness scale, I'm high. What does this mean? Well, this does this really resonate with me? It does resonate with me because I like trying new things. I like traveling to new places. I like meeting new people, meeting new cultures. I like innovating new products. So I'm very high in the openness scale. And this is actually coming from the big ocean framework, openness.
mm,
Conscientiousness. I am high on the conscientiousness. I like planning. I like strategy. I like thinking ahead. And you can see some common patterns and see what this means for you. Like, I like innovation, like I said. I like working with open minded people. I like diversity, but I also like structure. So I'm really good with creating new things, bringing new things into life. And I can really confirm that with what I've done in my life. I've been always jumping into unknown territory, like this innovation
mhm,
space, but I was able to work with like minded, diverse team members to bring some structure and build some meanwhile products. And to me, that's really another confirmation that I was able to see as some of my strengths coming from this personality test and some of the frameworks that are out there. So, having a self reflective process in life, which is just a journaling practice, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and having a playful attitude with life and incorporating the ones who know you in the process. And lastly, looking into some of the tools maybe out there and trying to see what kind of trends that we might acquire from those might be good starting points for us, I think, to see the big picture, and from there, we can
mm.
literally look into the world and the opportunities in a different way and try to find the right opportunities consciously before we get into that job and just get into nitty gritty details just to understand that it's not very much aligned with who you really are. Can you maybe do some of this work proactively instead
Yeah.
of really you jumping into bigger commitments in life and realizing that that's not very much aligned with who you really are?
Wow. Yeah. Those are amazing
How do you know
suggestions.
yourself, Ethan? What are
um,
some of your personal practices?
yeah, I'll share them, and I think it's also, just to speak to the energy behind that first. It's like you always had this curiosity and this desire to know
Yes.
yourself, um, but um, it's like a spectrum. Some people may not be that be there yet. So I certainly wasn't there when I was younger,
Yes.
um, because I didn't think there was much to find inside.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I was looking for tactics, strategies rather than things about myself.
Hmm.
So it's really important to kind of notice where there's curiosity, or where there's some energy, like follow that. So
Yes.
for me, there was a lot of pain about something, but I didn't like that, so I didn't want to go there. And it's actually kind of the opposite. The energy, where the energy is, it's actually calling you to say, hey, have a look at this, like whether it's like a dissatisfaction
Yes.
or a pain, or even, or the other way around, an inspiration.
Yes.
That's like a signal to spend some time with it to see what you find.
Yes.
Oh wait, hey, we have a, let me just
Question?
see, there's somebody here. I want to see if Chris wants to join.
Oh,
I
wonderful.
Somebody I
First
spoke
guest,
to.
our first guest. Hello.
Chris,
Hey,
so amazing that you hopped on. How are
oh,
you doing?
just fine. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm behind. I missed the alert. I've been busy around the house this morning, so I apologize.
No,
You are
that's
the guest of
wonderful.
honor, Chris.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Is
Awesome.
there anything that, well, what brings you to the call, Chris?
Yeah,
To this
so
call?
I've definitely enjoyed our sessions together, Ethan. And when I read about the Q&A and both of your thoughts, I just wanted to absorb as much as I could to grow and learn and expand this idea of, not just working for a paycheck, but working with meaning and finding meaning in my work. So that's why I'm here.
Beautiful.
Wow. Yeah, Duruk, is there anything you want to uh, ask
No, I
Chris?
am so delighted. Can you share a little bit more about where you are in your own journey, Chris, right now? Are you thinking about a change, or is this just another self-learning and co-creative growth opportunity for you? So I can maybe tailor my reflections a little bit better.
Yeah, so I'm definitely, thinking about how things can how we can make a change in different ways. I I don't, I was let go from my job this year, and I'd been there for a really long time
Yep,
with that group. So I have, I think I've not been happy for a long time
yep,
there, but at the same time, it was enough to pay the bills, to
yep,
keep moving forward to a certain extent. So once I was let go, it was a little abrupt and surprising, but it was also good, just
yep,
because sometimes when we're comfortable, we have a hard time making those changes.
yes,
And this time, I wanted to be more diligent about
yes,
um, really being purposeful, deliberate with the
yes.
direction that I go. So that was a big deal. And I read a couple of books, and I also started to put a resume together that I thought told my stories pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I wanted to find a way to combine more of the gifts that I have. So music, technology on the experience side, music on the gift side, and find
Mm-hmm.
ways to combine those. And so I have, looked at companies or opportunities that meet that criteria,
Yep,
and some of that has happened, but also money has become a serious concern. So
sure.
I've had some opportunities come up that are exciting, I think, to a certain extent, but also um, not 100% sure they're in line with that. But I think I've gotten to a place where I'm okay with that, because through this journey, I'm going to prioritize exploring the gifts in a meaningful way, so
Yes,
that even when I have a job, I would use that funding to support the things that I love, and really not compromise. If the job causes me to compromise on that and there's not a good balance, then
yes,
I'm going to find something else. But that's kind of where I am, and there are some opportunities right now out there that look pretty good and are coming together, which
yes,
it would be great timing. But
yes.
that's where I am.
Wow, you
Hmm.
have so much clarity. First of all, I was also able to hear that certainty, excitement, and hopeful approach. So, thank you for sharing your personal story, but thank you also sharing it with authenticity, passion, and openness. I think this very much resonates with what is happening in the world right now. I'm not so sure whether there are others listening, but at least in my networks, I also know quite a lot of people going through the same journey. And this has been a topic that we've been discussing with Ethan quite a long time, change and how to use change as an opportunity to better align ourselves with where we want to be in the world. And a part of, I think, that process is really seeing change as a positive opportunity in our lives instead of really worrying that our world turned upside down, how can we use this as an opportunity to reflect
Mm.
and maybe align ourselves with the right and better opportunities that are more aligned with who we are or what we would like to see more in the world. And to me, the second part of that pillar is really taking that pause and holding that open space, but also knowing yourself. And today, just before you joined, actually, we were thinking and talking, maybe very high level and generic. And I think you already know your answers, but how can one know themselves? And
Mm.
to me, it's a self-reflective journey where we have some reflective practices that really gives us that headspace or heart space for us to really contemplate our emotions, our desires, our thoughts, but also, especially during the career transitions, like you highlighted, it might be a turbulent time where emotions are high, and we are also trying not to judge ourselves in the circumstance and stuff like that, given that we might be sensitive. It might be also nice to complement that with the feedback, I think, from social networks to really understand what might be the right opportunities, when what might be our strengths and what others see in us too. And my third pillar is literally using that combination of what we see in the mirrors of life through the ones who know us, through what we know through our contemplative practices, and using this as an opportunity to co create better options
Mm.
and doing it this time, hopefully, with better knowledge of yourself, which was very certain in what you were revealing, saying that I know what I want. And if that means that I might have to proceed with dual strategy in the meantime so that I can meet the financial terms while I'm investing into the long term,
Mm.
what I was seeing was really that clarity that you know what your interests are and you know where you want to be over the longer term. And it's wonderful. I'm just eager to maybe see what brought you this clarity. Do you have any tips and tricks in terms of knowing yourself, in addition to some of the things that we discussed, like reflective practices and maybe using some tools like personality tests or other things? Like, is this an innate personality of yours as well? Or do you have any tips and tricks for others to have the same clarity that you have right now at this stage? You might not know the path, but it's clear that you know where you would like to go and you know what your interests are.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a complex question.
Yeah.
I do think number one is making time to do that. You know, that's a big thing. Is I don't think we set a lot of time aside to start to analyze what we've experienced, where we've seemed to have an impact, and maybe where we feel like, you know, somebody else could do this, and it's not unique to my skill set. And I think getting that down in an Excel, like breaking it down the way we would if we owned a business or we were working for another company, how we don't really honor ourselves
Yeah.
by doing that type of analysis or taking that time. I know I skip over it because it's not a high priority. You don't have to do it and you can survive. So a lot of times we don't make the time. So I think committing
Mm.
time to explore that is the number one thing. Number two is, I think, having an approach to understanding what your purpose might be, and that could change over time. It could evolve, but making time to regularly analyze that. And what's great today with technology is you can create a living document, you know, in Google or
Yes.
wherever, where
Yes.
you can get that down, you can keep tracking, you can keep evolving it. Um, it can also be overwhelming, so keeping it simple and
Yep.
doing what you can, not putting pressure on yourself to figure everything out, but just to start to write ideas down and explore things, I think
Yep.
is really important.
Yep.
What you said about learning from others, I think I've just kind of started that journey, but that seems to be really powerful because
It is.
we can't see ourselves. And I teach voice also, and so with singers, you will never hear what your own voice sounds like. You could
Yeah.
buy the most expensive microphone in the world
Yeah.
and you'll never hear
Yes.
your own voice.
Yes.
because it resonates from your chest, the back
Yes.
of your head, the whole room is filled, and you are always inside your body. So that's
Yes.
why a teacher is important, because you need that feedback. And I think it's the same with our spirit, with
So
our
true.
heart. So that's been really important, to start to open myself up to asking people how they see me.
Yep.
And I think having an open heart to that's important. It's not easy.
Yes.
And then spiritually, really understanding that we are spiritual beings, that we have biases, and
Yes.
we are shaped by certain things that happen to us along the way. So seeking spiritual truth and evaluation is also really important. So I think those are just parts of what I've learned and that I could offer as far as advice. And it only
Amazing.
partially addresses the question, but
Of
then
course, like we are
yeah.
diving deep here. Thank you for jumping into deep waters with us.
Yeah, sure.
I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I love that, Chris. Thank you so much. And when we had the opportunity to speak, what I really felt was um, somebody who was willing to see himself, like really interested in getting to know himself, like,
Yeah.
and wherever you can um, find that mirror, and life is that mirror, like, but also journaling,
Yes.
just having space for yourself.
Yes.
Um, Coaching is another way. Like,
Yeah.
these are all just different ways of seeing ourselves clearly in that mirror, or listening to our voice, like you said, beautifully. Because once we can do that, then it becomes easier to live in alignment, with what is true for us.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is maybe one more thing that I was planning to bring into the conversation, and we have a new member, so
Yes,
welcome, by the
Nathan.
way.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
can you
Would you like to bring Nathan on, Doruk, or is there something you wanted to say for us to Chris?
Thank you, Chris. I cannot really see the name. I only see Linux.
Yes. Linux lid. Okay, well, I'll unmute Nathan just so he. Oh,
Hello?
they've muted themselves. Just say. Hello.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi.
how you doing, Ethan? How are you?
Yeah, well, Nathan, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm joining you from Ghana in West Africa. I have a very bad
Amazing.
internet right now. Hold on, let me see if I can get onto the
Yeah.
Wi-Fi here.
Yeah, amazing. Did you have a chance to listen to our conversation with Chris? Is there anything that resonates with you, or do you have a question?
So my internet is really bad. Okay,
Got
it's
it.
better now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
Would you like me to repeat what I said?
Yes, please.
Oh, I was just asking if you had a chance to listen to our conversation, if there's anything that you want to say about that, or whether you have a question for us.
Yeah, I was listening on LinkedIn and I switched to StreamYard, and then I just was able to. Yeah, I was resonate with everything you're saying. The little that I kind of get is I see a shift in people becoming more mindfulness in entrepreneurship or in life
Yeah.
than just being for the lack of a better word, just being robotic, just all about business, all about making money, at the neglect of your health. And so now I see a shift in people taking stock of not just their physical health, but also their mental health and also spiritual health, right?
Yes.
And that to me is it's a testament of the age in which we are shifting, where technology is quickly, like what we call the singularities, technology and religion and all these things are come to a place of a confluence, and we're realizing that we're more than just individual parts. Ethan is Asian. This lady is wherever you're from. I'm from Africa. Yet
I'm
technology brings
originally
us all
from
together.
Turkey. Yes. Yes.
Turkey. Mr. Sin. I was speaking Turkish. You didn't get me. I said Nisison.
Oh, that's wonderful. İyiyim, sen nasılsın? That
Yeah.
was such a sweet surprise. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
now I
yeah,
need
so
to pay back and
that's
learn
cool.
some.
Mhm.
That's
Thank you.
beautiful.
Wow, what's
Yeah.
really amazing to hear is really from both of our members joining the conversation or new visitors. I'm hearing spirituality as a core dimension of health. It might be to the testament of the times that we are going through that this topic is coming up. It might be also us bringing this network together, but I couldn't say it better. It's not only us as machines, like our bodies, it's really our mental sanity, it's our emotional sanity, it's our spiritual integrity. And we are all going through times where we can bring all of these parts together and honor those parts and create beautiful things out of that integrity personally, but also collectively through the businesses, through the communities that we are building. So perfectly said. Thank you.
Yeah.
And to me, this is really a reset. And maybe the message that I would like to share is really, I will bring back to some of my personal experiences and link it to some of the transitions that we might be going through exactly in this moment. So, Ethan, like you said, I've been always reflective in terms of trying to understand myself better. But I had some reasons for that too. Like, I was supposed to make big decisions in my life, like which career to go, which school and major to go in. And at the time, although you have some education from the school, I didn't really have the right. And this is before web and us connecting to the world, kind of the venue. So we are still in a world where we are pretty much limited with our networks and localities. I was really in need of further exploration in life to really understand where I can see myself the most. So what was triggering me at the time was really these big decisions in life. And I didn't really know because I didn't have enough life experience too. So what I did, which was a smart strategy that I integrated into every decision in later stages in my life. So if I don't know what I want, I know what I don't want. And if I go towards elimination of the things that I don't want and try to optimize my playground, that can give me the best venue to operate when I have mental clarity in the future. So what I did when I was selecting my major was really, I know that I don't want to be a doctor. I can't really do that. I don't have that stamina in me. So I eliminated literally, I can't be a doctor. I could be that. I cannot be that. And then I choose industrial engineering because within the framework of industrial engineering, out of the education, you were able to go into 4 or 5 different verticals depending on personal interest too. So to me, it was the most diversified option where I could still build some capabilities in the areas that I wanted to build myself, but it also allowed me the option to decide in the future. And in later stages in life, I've done 2 rotation programs when I get into big multinational companies, Roche and Elsevier. In both of them, again, like I don't know the company. I have some directional guidance in terms of the things that I can bring, but it was an amazing opportunity for me to go through these rotation programs every other 6 months, do different things. So I can really explore and understand the culture, the business opportunities, the resources, and the support system that I can get, and then make a more conscious choice. This turned out to be really a strategy that I implemented in my life. And coming back to our prior conversations, like we are more eager to do experimentation, exploration in earlier stages in life. But in the second half, while we are doing these significant changes and the world is doing significant changes, like most of us are doing significant changes in the second half of our journey, we sometimes literally neglect the power of exploration and little small experimentation. So maybe I would like to bring that openness, curiosity, and creativity back into the game. And instead of really asking us the big question of what's my purpose, if it's not nearly naturally emerging from the depths of your heart, maybe another question to ask might be simply, what are the things that I don't want anymore? Like instead of really chasing that big thing, eliminating the things that you don't want and opening space for experimentation to happen. So instead of really being committed to that next big thing, how can you do little small experiments by opening space for from eliminating the things that doesn't belong to you anymore. So you have more experimentation room instead of committing to a career that you don't know, this black box that's going to unfold itself in the next few years. Maybe opening up space to elimination of the things that doesn't serve you anymore and opening up more space for a little small experimentation. And another personal trick, which is the first demonstration, is what we're doing here: open yourself more. So you can find the right people going through the same changes in life, and you can also find the new opportunities. So instead of really chasing the opportunities, bringing more of your authentic self into your explorations so you can hopefully connect to the right opportunities might be another tip and trick that can enhance our exploration and hopefully investigation of the right opportunities for where might be creating the value next.
Yeah, I think when we have clarity about what we don't want, that we also get clarity about what we do want. And it's another way of looking at it is like in a moment by moment thing. When we feel, oh, I feel like I'm not heard, I feel like something like that, or I feel this is missing, right? It's like an unwanted thing, and then it comes back to creating that space for ourselves. So in this moment now, if I'm feeling this unwanted thing, can I create the space to feel that? And then if I can feel that, underneath it will be what's wanted quite often. And it might be a very simple thing. Like I feel like I don't have a voice. And then underneath that, it's a simple thing of there's something my heart wants to say.
Yes.
And this is kind of touching on the spiritual aspects as well, really, because in that space, we feel often that there are these quiet voices or a kind of a knowing that isn't really from our minds, but something that's coming through us. And Chris, like I know you shared that you record some of these, almost like Doruk's contemplations, or you record some of these things that come through, and that's like just honoring that when that wants to come through you.
Yes.
And it's an in the moment thing. If you feel that in the moment, I want to express this to someone, or letting yourself do that, and then you are then already being in alignment with what you want to create, and then things you're sending out those ripples, and then they get to come back to you.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the recording piece, if I feel like I've learned something or have my eyes open to something, I want to somehow, as you said, honor that and record that. And we are spiritual beings. So the only way the spirit can communicate, is through sound or through touch. And I think it's important. So we don't measure that with mathematics per se or with analytics.
Yeah.
You can see the impact you might have in the world sometimes in analytics, but I think thought, ideas, impressions, those are the things that we either contain inside or we express in some way. And not everything needs to be expressed. I think it's important to process and internalize, but if there's something that can help someone, maybe even someone in the future when you're gone, if you can record, or at least from this world, it's important to record that in some way. And sometimes it's through artistic expression, sometimes it's through words or thoughts, or certain actions, that impact people. But we're given these bodies that can, vibrate air, can move, make marks, or mold, and that's it's important. I think it's probably the most important opportunity we have, other than sometimes that aligns with the way we make money. Sometimes it's funded by what we do to make money.
Yes.
But Yeah, that's so important.
This will deserve its own space for another contemplation, but I think what you are talking about is a reality that we see in the world today. Like whatever we do playfully, pouring out of our hearts, most of the artistic expression and creative stuff, it's not funded well in the traditional world. But I also believe that that is changing in our world too. The more that we have technology, the more people are feeling empowered to bring all of their gifts. And I see quite a lot of amazing examples for little small communities funding each other. So again, like in the old world, that used to be true. Like people were earning money in traditional ways and using that as an opportunity to channel that money for more creative expressions that they can bring their gifts to the world. But I think in today's world, since we are talking about change and since we're really thinking and talking about bringing all of ourselves, I would like to use this as an opportunity to invite our capacity of our minds, creativity, to be of service to the inspirations of our hearts, because I think the technology is there. And I'm seeing some successful examples in terms of micro funding opportunities for creators, communities supporting each other. I would like to believe that that's going to be a trend continuing into the future. So you don't need to segment yourself like mind earning money, supporting hard and creative expressions. Like, why don't we bring all of ourselves and express all of ourselves and hopefully explore the right communities and maybe technology in the right way too, to find the right ones aligned with our interests so we can also generate value out of that integration. I believe that it is trending towards that direction, and I don't want to close that opportunity too. Holding that space for innovation to happen, hopefully funding our creative expressions too, is my hope for the future too. And that's another area that I'm personally very much interested in.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes. And Nathan, is there anything that you wanted to ask in these last minutes? Anything that we can talk to that would help?
I think.
Nice to see you.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe I can share this. I'm in a very unique position right now in life. So I'm actually based in the New York area, but since August I've been down here. I came in to see an ailing father, and unfortunately lost him. So I'm staying till next month, lay him to rest before I head back east, to the U.S. So it really makes you very present to the fact that what is the purpose of life, right?
Yes.
Are we just existing to make money and drive nice cars and caviar and have a lot of ladies, or what? So for me, it's really put things in perspective, and I know you had mentioned something about when you planned what you wanted to do with your life, you knew medicine was not for you. I knew it was for me, but I changed from that to tech because it was easier and quicker.
Yeah.
And being here and seeing all the gaps, and the healthcare delivery system is just horrible.
Yeah.
I'm at a crossroads now, thinking about I should consider maybe going back and using tech, because tech is a catalyst that basically disrupts industries. Technology has disrupted finance with fintech,
Yep.
with gaming, you name it. Everywhere tech touches it, it just transforms the place. So now I'm strongly considering, because like when I came in, you have to go to the hospital and you want to buy medication, you have to go and get it yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And then bring it to them for them to administer. My cousin had to be rushed to the hospital. You have to send someone to go do this. If you do an X-ray or something, you have to go out of the hospital. So I'm like, and there's no connection. Like, we have electronic health records in the US and other parts of the world.
Yeah.
So you could have a medical emergency and maybe you're allergic to something, but they wouldn't know. So there's no history that follows you. You just show up, you're a new patient every time and everywhere you go. So I'm like, there's a lot of opportunity here to leverage what I've been privileged to learn and experience with technology, and maybe I can go back to my real calling.
Yeah.
Wow.
There is no one way, by the way. I said that
Yeah.
I realized I don't want to be a doctor, but I spent my 20 years in health tech or healthcare. So, by the way,
Okay.
side note, but if there's anything that I can add value to our explorations, feel free to reach out. Given my backgrounds, I'm happy to brainstorm together too.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nathan, thank you so much for sharing that. That's really
Yeah,
beautiful, that
beautiful.
journey.
Yeah.
And just to see the gift in everything, and there's no wrong ways, and everything's kind of coming back, and everything that you've learned and been through has brought you to this point. It's just beautiful to see, and you know yourself at a deeper level now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe another point that I would like to highlight from this experience, and it's very much resonated with my personal experience too. This is not black and white issue. Like when you see the big picture, everything can come together nicely, which is, I think, what's happening for you too. Maybe the grand scheme is going to be bringing technology and healthcare together, and then you were getting ready for that exploration. In my personal journey, I switched to a more analytical path, although I was a very artistic child when I was growing up, but I always carried that artistic reflection in me in whatever I do in the analytical path as well. So I was literally bringing poetry back to the business. I was bringing dance back to the business. So it's not black and white. I think the most important thing is having this reflective mindset and bringing all of ourselves into whatever we do to the fullest extent, and then seeing what will open up in terms of the future opportunities. So I would like to use that as another invitation. It's not you've gone towards the wrong path, you are always on the path. It's just a step. I think the most important thing is being fully present in the now with all of yourself and trying your best to know yourself fully, bringing that expression to the world fully, so that even if you are not in the best place in the world where you can make the biggest impact, that's a step for you to jump towards the better opportunities. So the right question is really, how can you bring more of yourself, regardless of whether you're in the right spot or not?
Good.
So Chris and Nathan, thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so much.
joining. Like, so much love to you both. We're gonna wrap up here. Daruk, is anything you want to say?
No, this
We
was
close.
beautiful. First time having visitors. It's an amazing, engaging conversation. We would love to see you once again. And if you would like to stay in touch in the future, feel free to reach out. And thank you for making the suggestion to bring this important topic into conversation, Ethan. I truly believe that it's the first step for us to be ourselves and hopefully make the biggest impact that we can make in the world. And nice to see you, Chris.
Good to see you, Chris.
Yeah. I left my LinkedIn in the chat so we can connect from there.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah.
Will do.
Any reflections, Ethan, from your side?
Yeah, I think it's like the richness of the conversation really, came up when Chris, you and Nathan joined. I mean, it was rich before already, but there's a difference in the aliveness of what you're bringing. And I love to see how this plays out in people's lives when we talk about knowing ourselves. Chris, for you, what it actually means, meaning, right? When you talk about meaning, only you can know that, right? Only you can know that for yourself. And Nathan, when you talk about your own journey, like you're the one who goes through that journey, who learns the lessons, who feels the pain, and at the end, well, there's no end, but in every moment is then guided to be like, okay, what's next? And only you can listen to that. Other people can only help you to listen to yourself. So it's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Have a
Take
beautiful
care.
day.
Hopefully see you in the next one.
Yeah. Bye.